Everybody, it's me, Andrew. Get out into nature and tune in for yourself. Resonate with the Earth's electromagnetic field via 432 Hertz, the universal frequency. Balance out psychologically and emotionally, and further strengthen your brain and your heart's coherence as well. Get a plant based diet going for yourself today and nurture yourself right back into life. We are literally herbivores in our nature. Further, balance out your body's pH level and get with alkalinity. Then you can generate some static electricity. Send me some love telepathically, set attention to your mind, and set intention to communicate. That is all there is to telepathy. You are now tuning in to great days. So today I wanted to talk about decalcifying the pineal. So I'm going to go over what the pineal gland is and calcification and how to kind of decalcify the pineal gland so it can illuminate more, or you can access it, or it can shine through, you know, and you can access the holographic matrix, you know, through the pineal gland and access dimensions beyond the physical. Okay, so let's get into this. Uh, so the pineal gland is pretty much a gland at the center of the neurological structure, right? Or the brain structure. So we got the nervous system, we have the brain, and we have the spinal cord, and we have the nerves, you know. So at the center of the brain, and this is within the various different brain regioning, we have the pineal gland. It's within the thalamus or the hypothalamus. I can't remember. I think it's a thalamus. One of these. And it's at the very center, right? And it's just a little gland, not that big. It's very tiny. I think it's like the size of a pea. Some size around this, like a pea-size gland. And you can also do your own research. I'm sure you've heard of the pineal gland, but the pineal gland um, is pretty much called the seat of the soul because it allows us to access multiple dimensions, or it allows us to go beyond the physical reality, because this is just a very minute dimension of consciousness, which is omnidimensional, right? Which means all dimensional. So there's infinite dimensions. By the way, there's not the dimensional count is pretty much endless, or it's infinite, right? So through the pineal gland, you can actually access these, and you can have deeply transcendental experiences or mystical experiences if you're able to properly use it, right? And that's kind of where people are uneducated. The only thing that I really know is that there is it can be used naturally, and by this I mean if you tune yourself into nature, if you align yourself with nature, the pineal gland is going to work very, very efficiently, because that's what its design is, right? So you don't actually need to manually use it. You can, but there's a deeper aspect of you which already knows how to use it, right? To be able to access higher dimensions of existence, right? So you can access it, but there's a kind of like there's like a warfare on it. There's a warfare on consciousness, right? There's the warfare on consciousness resulted in the destruction of the pineal gland, right? It's still can be used, um and not only can it be used, but it can be exercised, you know, which is what you need to do, because the fact that it's not being used is also how it's being destroyed. You know, it's like if you don't use your body, or if you neglect your body gets sick and it starts to destroy itself. and the brain, the whole brain, it's not just the pineal gland, the whole brain has been being destroyed, right? And that's psychological warfare. There's multiple different dimensions of warfare, and the psychological warfare is directly connected with the neurological damaging destruction. But the war on consciousness is linked. It's kind of like a bridging, right, of psychological warfare into maybe spiritual warfare or war on consciousness. Um, and the pineal gland could be like the neurological structure to be that bridge, right, to a higher dimensional warfare going on. It doesn't have to be warfare, you know. Uh, and I don't like to say it like that because it's like you spend all your time here in the physical, and then once you're able to finally break through into something that should be the ultimate experience, you don't want to see it as something that's already conflicting you, right? So it really isn't, in a way. It's just it's kind of like an expanding into deeper dimensions, and that's really all it is. But there is a war on consciousness, and this is why they have this is why they kind of set up various different systems of laws to keep the mass away from being able to access the natural higher dimensions, right? Or the spiritual. So let me see. You can so I gotta talk about the calcification of the pineal gland in the first place. This is one of the things that has happened due to the misuse or not using the pineal, right? Or even not exercising it. So the pineal gland used to be a lot bigger. I want to say when we were earlier in our development, right? As a people, it used to probably be 5 times its size or something like this. I don't actually know the measurements. I know they used to be a lot bigger, and that's pretty much it, right? So I don't know if because it got smaller, it got less capable, or it got smaller and more capable. I don't actually know, right? But I do know that it most definitely shrunk, and this was in correspondence to the fall in consciousness, right? So our pineal gland used to be a lot bigger, but when we spiraled out into denser states, the pineal gland, it shrunk heavily, right? So I'm also gonna say that it was a lot more capable, it's a lot more powerful when it was larger in size. Um, so you can still use it, you can still access it. It's one of the most important things to be able to access in order to make connection with higher dimensions, um, and have life changing experiences beyond any of the experiences that you can have in your life. So accessing the pineal gland is going to obviously give you experiences that are not going to that are going to be beyond any experience that you can have here in life, right? Um, so you got to take care of it. You got to learn to exercise it. You do this by knowing how to bring it back into a healthier state of itself, right? So it's been calcified. What does that mean? It's been encrusted with various different minerals to slow its production of secretions or maybe block out the illumination, right? Because there's a light that comes from the pineal gland, and that light is or can be blocked by that encrusting. It's kind of like a firmament in itself, right? That encrustment can kind of be seen as a firmament to keep that illumination of the pineal gland, or the third eye, which is also the third eye, by the way, or corresponds to the third eye, and the crown chakra, uh, that encrusting, or that calcification can be removed, right? You can remove this by literally just avoiding the things which are calcifying it in the first place, right? So there's just things like distilled water, right? Or even tap water. We can use tap water because it's probably one of the worst um, forms of water, right? I mean that we have access to. So the pineal gland is gonna have natural calcification, right? But they can modify at this. They can make it to where it's imbalanced in a way, so we disconnect from the source, because you're able to access the source of all creation through through the third eye, or through not only the third eye but through the pineal gland, right? Through the crown chakra. You would return to source through the crown chakra, which corresponds to the pineal gland, right? So you use the pineal gland to access the higher dimensions of source. So the whole war on consciousness is that they're disconnecting us from source, right? And this is why the globe is being tarnished, and they're killing the rainforest, things like this. Trees are the natural connection to the source energy, and without trees, we obviously aren't able to live. So if we're disconnected extremely, or inevitably, or not inevitably, if we are disconnected to an extreme degree from source energy, then we eventually die away, right? And this is how all things are. All things need to have the connection to source, because the source is the source of creation, right? So that's where all the energy is. That's where we're sourcing our energy from. That's our source of energy, right? So if we're disconnected from it, we die away. Uh, so calcifying the pineal gland, when it is calcified, you're disconnected and you fall into dense states of vibration, or dense states of being, and you start falling into various different imbalances that are more long term, you know, because you're supposed to be able to heal anything, right? And this was always an ability that we have in our genes, or in our genetics, but all of that is has been modified, or it has been targeted, right? So since we're disconnected, we kind of lost our ability to be able to naturally heal ourselves from anything, right? That can pretty much potentially threaten one of the aspects, right, of our being. So let me see. Um, Decalcifying the pineal gland, or kind of just balancing it back out, or maybe bringing it back into health, you would want to avoid the things that are poisoning it in the first place, or even just poisoning your brain, right? So these are things like technology is one of these things, right? I'm using a phone right now. But the phone is most definitely doing harm. Um, and these are the 5G frequencies, right? There's obviously a whole movement, or a lot of people already talking about 5G frequencies, and the damage that it can cause to the electromagnetic field. This is one thing that can easily penetrate straight to the brain and scramble it in many different regions, you know. So that's kind of part of psychological warfare, and that's also getting into the war on consciousness, right? So they can use the 5G, or technology, and there's a whole technological field already integrated into everybody's home as well. So we're definitely living in within it, and we're definitely moving towards uh, a dependence on it, right? we're definitely becoming more and more reliant upon technology when it should just be a tool. So this is one thing that can kind of harm the brain and the pineal gland and disconnect you from a source of creation, right? And then obviously tap water, things like this. Um, the tap water has a lot of contaminants. There's a lot of contaminants that were supposed to be, I want to say, things like cleaning, but it just ended up being a method of poisoning, you know. So tap water is most definitely just poisoning, and it's definitely causing neurological or neurotic behavior within the masses, right? And there's definitely a lot of minerals that have been put into tap water that can, form themselves around any of the glands. And I'm sure that the pineal gland is one of the mains. So let me see. There's also, they do this to food as well. There's the GMOs, conventionally grown foods, they're grown pretty terribly. So there's a lot that have been done to them, various different chemicals that have been used on the food, and people don't like to hear this because they don't. I don't really know. They just don't like to hear the message about the food or water, but it is poison already at this point. So you most definitely got to make the effort to be able to get cleaner food. But they're modified genetically, and through genetic modification, pretty much anything can be done, right? Or a lot can be done. So within that, they can create a whole encrustment that is generated by your own body at that point, right? And that's just through what you're eating. So there's obviously pollutants in the air, things like this, right? Um, so there's ways to avoid all this, and the more that you do make the effort to avoid all the things that are tarnishing the pineal's health, or not just the pineal but your health in general, you do immediately start to see the benefits of moving away from that, you know. And it's an immediate realization, or it's an immediate effect. It's an immediate effect that takes place because the body is always striving to heal itself, and there's immense potential for the body to be able to heal itself, right? But it's just that there's constant forces that are here to keep the body in a severe in a state of severity, right? Or in an extreme state of disconnection from source. So the moment that you start, and source is very powerful, so this is what I'm saying. uh, Once you start making the effort, there's a synchronous experience that is immediately going to take place, that kind of catches your attention if you're open enough to it, or if you're sensitive enough to it, you know, which is the divine, and that in itself can be an experience of God, uh which is going to then further guide you through synchronicity to connect with source, so that you can heal yourself, right? And then you eventually start pulling in more information within healthier states, if you're going in the direction, uh and then more and more comes into realization, or you start to come into higher states of realization, until you are able to find liberation, right, which is within the realization. um so you can decalcify the pineal gland by making that effort. It's not hard. People are doing it. uh it's very simple, actually. one thing that you can do is sun gaze. I know sun gazing is an excellent way to feed the pineal gland. The pineal gland can be nourished through light waves, and I want to say the sunset and the sunrise are the best frequency of light for the pineal gland to open it up, right? So let's say if you watch sunset and sunrise for 2 weeks straight, you're definitely gonna notice a difference, right? You'll maybe start seeing the auric field of everything, right? Or you may start seeing people's aura. Uh, you can you can activate your own light body, do things like this. As you start to open the pineal gland, it makes it much easier to see everything happening, because that's the way that you're able to see throughout the holographic matrix, right? So let me see. You can obviously get yourself better waters, right? Natural. You can find like natural sources of water, rivers. I'm pretty sure would work best. Um, so there was one thing that I was talking about last time on this. The rivers, they have minerals in them, right? But these are different minerals. You're gonna find like minerals, but there's also minerals that you're being cut off from, and these minerals are going to those are minerals that you've lost, you know, and your body may have been able to generate them at one point for the sustainment, but genetic modification kind of can block all that out. So if you take up like natural sources of water, you can be able to find all those minerals once again, and these create crystalline structures that are actually going to help you connect with the source, other than disconnecting you or keeping you in a lower vibration, you know. So natural sources of water will probably be the best, but if you don't have access to that, you just avoid the tap water. Okay. uh, and I mean, there's many different things you could do. You can find plenty of people talking about the pineal gland as well, because everybody's talking about it already, and how to heal it, how to use it, how to decalcify it, things like this. It's not ultimately calcified either, is also one of the things that you got to understand. So it's not an ultimate demise or anything like this, and it can still be accessed no matter what state you're in, right? But it definitely is a whole nother thing to be able to actually access it. Um, but when you're in alignment with nature, it can easily do its function, right? Which is why you want to connect yourself with nature as much as you can. And the pineal gland is naturally going to balance itself out or open itself, you know. And the more that you're able to do this, the more deeper the experience is going to become. And that's whenever you can really start telling yourself from higher dimensions what you actually need to do to be able to further that process, right? Which is the process of healing yourself on a genetic level, um, which is definitely not easy, because there's like a whole bombardment of different forces, corrupted forces, which are here specifically for the purpose to keep you in a state of illness, right, or disease, uh, on a very low vibrational level, right? Uh, but if you just make the effort, it's very simple to be able to liberate from these. Um, So decalcifying the pineal gland. Fuel yourself with the sun. I want to say this is one of the best ways to do it, right? Because the sun is probably it's a source of energy as well. It's the source of energy. It's one with the source of energy, or it is the source of energy. It's one and the same. So you can use the light waves, the sentience, and that higher consciousness of the sun to be able to intent the very axis of your pineal gland, and then you can induce higher experiences of multidimensionality, right? And this is not at all fake or a joke or anything like that. You can actually have experiences completely beyond the physical, right? I mean, you can also do things like lucid dreaming. If you lucid dream, you're having you're having a hallucinatory experience every night, and you're using the pineal gland every single night, so you really just got to understand how to use it in the day, or maybe just lucid dream. That's another way to be able to access it and understand it more experientially, right? Which is completely different from doing research. Research is going to tell you, experience is going to show you, you know, firsthand. So the surrealism or the exaggeration of dreams is within that same or within that same transcendentalness, right? Something beyond this experience. You can take psychedelics. Psychedelics also open up the pineal gland for a short time for you to be able to have experiences that are beyond the physical. Okay, dream-like experiences, a little different, but a lot like dreams, pretty much like dreams, and you can make this the you can make that the you can make that your experience, you know, absolutely, which is what you want to do, because that's where you're in connection with source, and that's where experience is divine. That's where you're divine, and that's where life is worthwhile. The disconnection of source has made things very, very bleak, very dull, very very poor, right? The experience itself has become poor, but that can easily be solved because the whole system is able to heal itself 10 times the rate that it got sick or it got corrupted, you know. But you just got to connect yourself once again. So you can lucid dream, you can take psychedelics, you can do yoga, meditation. Forgot to talk about these, but yoga and meditation are great for being able to open up the pineal gland, balance yourself out once again. You can induce experiences beyond the physical through yoga and meditation, which has been done tens and thousands of years, tens of thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years, probably. Um, so you got to find what works best for you. Exercise the pineal gland, use it, and thank yourself for doing that, because otherwise things aren't really worthwhile. You know, maybe they are for a little bit, but eventually you're going to need to touch something upon you touch something beyond, you know, because then it just becomes a poverty in a way, right? So decalcify the pineal gland is very, very simple. Lucid dreams are great as well for everybody because everybody's dreaming. So you can have some deep experiences in your dreams, but you really got to become lucid. Otherwise, it doesn't really work, right? Try to try to come into an indistinguishable state between the dream and the reality. By this I mean try to come into a state where it's a yogic state, but try to come to the state, or it's a yogic state. Try to come into the state where you can't distinguish between reality or waking reality and the dreamscape. So the dreamscape becomes the waking reality. Everything becomes a dream because that is actually the nature of existence. If you read Carl Jung, he's all about this, right? So you can do it that way. You can do it plenty of different ways, right? Eventually, you're going to get into the pineal, and then you got to clean it, do things like this for yourself, right? So that's gonna be it for today's video. I do thank everybody for watching once again. Peace out, one love, and have a great evening.